Welcome back to another Pickled Unscripted. I have with me, as always, the talented Matt the Pickled Dragon, and I'm Dracoya. Today, we have an interesting topic for you, but before we get into it, Matt, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Kaigan,
Heigen!
the kaiju of whiskeys.
Oh, that's so funny because I'm drinking a Japanese beer.
Ah,
Yeah, it's Ki-Uchi Brewery Hitachino Nest. Anyway, it's delicious. It's got like sediment of rice in it. It's so good. It's a light white ale and it's just got so much flavor.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy this one that you selected on your visit here.
Aw, thanks,
So,
Matt. You're so sweet.
your very, very good eye for booze.
Ah, if you miss the mark half the time, you still hit it half,
That's right.
right?
And if you
All
don't take
right,
a shot at all, you miss them all.
that's right. So, today, guys, we have got some interesting things to talk to you about. Magical items, and specifically
Yay.
the exploitation that WotC now allows within their rules.
I have a certain affinity for magic items. And I like to use them as plot devices. Um, obviously, not every magic item is going to be a plot device in a campaign, but I like to give meaningful magic items. And I've always liked to control, because I'm controlling like that, but I like to control um, magic items because it is one area which, if you let spin out of control, can really um,
Tip the balance of
derail
your
a
game.
campaign. Um, so with the new D&D Dungeon Master's Guide, they have rules for magic item crafting, and there's always been rules for magic item crafting through the years. Um, 3.5 had rules where you had to take a feat, and then the person crafting the magic item actually had to like give up experience points. So I found to create the item. So like a piece of them went into the item. So I found in those days there were a lot of people hesitant to take magic item creation feats because no one wanted to give up XP. Because for the most part, it was not a trifle amount of XP; it's quite a lot. But in this new system, in the new 5.56E, 5.5E, uh, there doesn't seem to be any drawback. So we're going to take a look at that. And then we're going to quick take a look at what I mean by a plot device for a magic item. So I'm gonna share something with you all. My friends are drinking buddies. D&D, the new magic item crafting rules in the new DMG are more than what you would call guidelines.
Yeah.
Indeed.
This is really,
So,
this was meant to be exploited, man.
yes. So there's not a lot of details here. So because my mind when I took a look at these rules, my mind immediately went to exploits that a DM is going to really have to tightly control.
Oh, sure, of course.
Um, so so they give some lip service to the traditional way of looting your magic items. But in order to craft a magic item, is first thing you're going to need is proficiency in Arcana, and then a tool proficiency that correlates to the magic items you want to make. So if you have Smith's tools, you could make weapons and armor. Leather workers' tools could make like leather armor, whatnot. Rings, you need jewelers' tools, and so on. And then if there are any spells associated, so if the like a wand can produce a magical effect, you need to be able to cast that spell, the effect that it's you know it's casting. Then they say, okay, now you have to find the raw materials. And the article says that in a city, there's a 75% chance that you can find the raw materials you want. If you're in a village, it's 25% chance.
But that's still a huge chance, am I
Yeah.
right?
I mean, and it's kind of contrived too, right? It's just like, 75, 20. Okay, fine. Let's say, and let's say first, let's just, for the sake of argument, we'll just say that we have the most lenient DM ever.
Sure, why not?
Okay, so uncommon magic items take 10 days and 200 gold pieces to manufacture. So if you wanted to be immune to criticals and you wanted a suit of adamantine plate mail, it would cost you 200 gold and 10 days of your time at the smith, etching your little runes. And um, so suddenly you're immune to criticals. Rare items are 50 days, 2,000 gold. But even rare items are like pretty good items, like a flame tongue, for example, is a rare item, or a belt of hill giant strength is a rare item.
See, if this is what, honestly, screw adventuring. I'm just going to open up a mithril tailor shop because that's going to make 10 times more money. And yeah, nothing can ever hurt me. Like, why would I even bother with adventuring at all? And what's
Yeah.
that? You know what's great about finding a magic item in a campaign, Matt? Or at least for me, in my experience, it's it's the excitement. It's the, oh my God, I just found a magical item. Because magical items, at least in the games I've played, they are not everywhere. Most villagers and NPCs in the worlds I've been in, they've never seen a magical item. It is not something common that everybody has seen or handled. And so it's part of this fun. It's this really exciting moment when you actually find your first magical item, or even your second or your third. And it's just taking all of that enjoyment and dopamine out of the joy of discovering it. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's your reward, right, for overcoming the challenge, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
and it's not just a reward. There's a strong chance that if you're going by the rules and you're rolling treasure into the DM, there's a strong chance that you could kill a dragon and it has no magic items whatsoever.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
I've killed
and
several without any magical items.
yeah, and with this system, theoretically, you could make a legendary item, like like you know the staff of the magi or whatever. Right? That might be I think one of them, staff of power or staff of the magi. One of the other two is a relic or an artifact, and the other one's legendary. But in any case, you know, my mind immediately went to the exploits. Like, okay, I have a bastion, right? And I hire a whole bunch of guys that are proficient in arcana and whatever skills I want. And does that mean as long as I can throw enough gold at an issue, I can reduce the time it takes? Like if you had more people working on it. Again, most lenient DM in the world says, sure, because there are some DMs that just don't say no to anything,
Well,
right?
because those are the rules, man. And I go back to the other article that we talked about, or the one where the rules that are now written in the DM guide, and one of the rules says, "Oh, you're not supposed to exploit the rules." Well, I, come on, how are you not supposed to exploit this, right? If it's written down this way, who's not going to think of it like that, right?
And WotC doesn't exactly have the best track record for writing rules that are clear and concise,
No, 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 no.
without any possibility of loopholes. But in any case, again, this article gives very little information as to what to go on or what the actual rules are. It just gives us a few screenshots and tells us a few parameters. But I've always found one of the number one ways you could cause your campaign to fly off the rails is by giving too many or the wrong magic items. which is why I was mentioning earlier. I like magic items to be part of a plot device, and that's one of two things. It could be the magic item is meaningful in the campaign for some reason, or the magic item um, is a very calculated decision by the DM saying, okay, my players need an item because for a particular adventure coming up, they don't realize they need this item. They don't realize, but as the DM, you want to insert that item to make this next chapter of the story evolve and give them the tools they need to overcome that challenge, and see if they make that connection. They may not make that connection, which could be also very interesting.
So,
Um,
Matt, I know you've got some great examples for us, but
yes.
before we get into it, I want to go ahead and let everyone know you should take a look at our merchandise shop. Matt has been tirelessly working on creating some amazing designs for us. He's got a Christmas one that's just come out on a sweatshirt that looks so great. I can't wait to have mine in. And then he's got this one that he made for me, and it's got your five adventurers there, and it says, when one of us gets attacked, we all roll for initiative. It's just a beautiful way to say, you're not going to bully us. If we all stand together, we are stronger. So,
Yes.
back to the magic items, Matt.
Yes. So I've got a few examples of magic items. Now at my table, I'm gonna share a different collection. At
Okay.
my table, I give out actual physical cards. So this is the actual
Ooh,
card that the player is handed, and
fancy.
then they'll get a document that looks like this with all the stats. But every
Ooh.
magic item has its own story. So the first thing they found was this unicorn horn, and they were, as I was slowly introducing the story, they had learned that um, a past queen who had fought this cult that they were coming up against had a unicorn's mount. So they started saying, "Oh, I wonder if this unicorn horn is related to that story somehow." And as it turns out in the story, they learn that, oh, this actually is the horn from her steed Sunlance. And then there came a point in time where they acquired this unicorn figurine, and it allowed somebody, but when they used the unicorn horn in conjunction with the figurine, to actually summon Sunlance from Celestia, where unicorns are native, and it tells the story there at the bottom of you know the queen who rallied the armies to fight Lady Chaos. But that doesn't, like I said, not every magic item has to be part of the story. Sometimes they can just be fun. And I'd shared this guy once before. We got the gremlin bag. Um,
Oh, guys, I had the wonderful fortune of playing with Matt in a couple of games, and somebody actually pulled this out, and it was by far the best, the funniest thing I have ever seen. And we just had such a great time with it. Not all magical items need to be attack and need to like break the game, and some of them can be the most ridiculous things you've ever heard of. This is just the best, most ridiculous thing. Oh, so good.
Yeah, you could get, a narcissistic, like I don't give out just bags of holding because that's boring. So
Sure.
in my world, bags of holding are gremlin bags, and there's a little caretaker in the bag who you have to navigate and role play with in order to exchange items back and forth out of the bag.
It was
Um,
so good. It's like Dobby if he was a narcissist, and it was so good.
and a jerk.
And a jerk. It was so great.
So feel free to steal the gremlin bag or whatever you want. I keep a website of all of the goings ons in my campaigns, and there's a page there that has all the magic items the party has discovered. Now, there's some I don't like. A lot of DMs, they'll outlaw certain spells. One of the spells I've taken out of my game is identify. The party has to research, and oftentimes by by trial and error find out what an item does.
So,
And
how does your party go about researching these items if they can't use the identify spell?
well, like I said, they can try to just use it and see what happens, which is
Okay.
often the case. But they learn that every single item potentially also has a curse. So there's like a risk reward thing. And so
Okay.
as they're testing it, they might learn about a curse as well when using this item. And the but they're much higher level now. This is towards the tail end of our campaign. Everybody's 16th, 17th level. And we're closing in on the end, but so they've actually accumulated an enormous library that they keep. And they'll go in and they'll research new magic items and whatnot. And they might get a power or two doing it that way, but there's a lot of work that goes into discovering what magic items do in my game. And um
That's kind of cool. I feel like that would just be so much more rewarding and fulfilling for the players to have to go through all of that every time they pick up a magic item.
I feel like it's a lot of fun. And there's our Discord channel actually has and a few channels devoted to the discussion of magic items and what might happen or not happen if you use X, Y, or Z, and what how to once because there's also one other alteration I make uh, to the game. I don't allow the remove curse spell to undo magic item curses. Uh,
Oh, well then how do you get rid of
so
curses?
so yeah, if you happen to get hit with a curse, that is also another trial and error thing. Like you need to go talk to someone who is learned in such matters, or try to research it in their. I mean, they've got an enormous library now, but
Huh.
again, they are very high level. And
Yeah, what are they like 15,
they're
something like that?
16th or 17th. Some of them
16
are
to
16, some are
they're
17.
pretty high level. All right.
But they have to figure out how to undo these curses if they get slapped with one in the
Right.
course. So yeah, it's part of the game that I think makes everything much more interesting. They get a tangible card. They oftentimes there are several magic items that they look at and they're like, it looks kind of nefarious. Like this,
Mm-hmm.
they have this one crown that's all banged up and rusted, and it looks like claws that are coming up, and no one wants anything to do with it. They haven't
What
even
is
tried
it?
anything with it.
You
There's
can tell us. It'll be a secret, Matt. Your players won't watch, right, guys?
Yeah, well, I I cannot divulge, but
Oh no.
I'll tell you
Maybe.
after we're off.
Okay.
But
Secrets.
this system that I put together for magic items, it's probably more bookkeeping and more work than most DMs probably want to bother with. But for me and my table, it works. So make magic items interesting. Um, I never have given a magic item out of the book, gauntlets of ogre power or whatever.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, is an uncommon item that you could make for 200 gold and 10 days of work if you want a 19 strength.
See, even one of my DMs was the most stingy when it came to giving us gold. I mean, we were like 13th level and we were the most broke ass adventurers you have ever freaking seen because he was so stingy about giving us gold. But even he would have given us 200 gold pieces and we could have done this. Like, even then, which tells me that most other DMs who are not that stingy, again, what's the point of being an adventurer at all? I'm just gonna like close shop and become a tailor at my local village because I'm gonna make millions doing that. What's it matter?
Yeah, I'm not very stingy with gold.
No, you're not. You should have
But
seen it, guys. He was like, "Oh, rubies here and sapphires there," and I was like, "What the hell?"
well, you guys were in an emperor's palace, so
That's true. That's true.
um, I kind of feel like if the party is 15th level or higher and they're raiding an evil emperor's palace, uh, there should be some opulence there. So holding back financial rewards in that case would be pretty dumb, in my opinion.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with us, disagree with us? Would you join me on opening up a little adventurer tailor shop and screw actual adventuring? Would you guys do what Matt does to his party, where he gifts them some magical items, potentially with curses? What do you guys think about the identify spell? That's a really interesting take that Matt had as far as not allowing his players to actually use the identify spell, but he really makes them work for it. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Give us a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, come back and have another round on us.
Woohoo!